So you have pride, who says it's impossible. Then you have experience that says it's risky. And then you have reason that says it's pointless. But then give it a try, whispers the heart. So give it a try. In defense of Ashley Judd. So just recently you had a poll that came out that said that Mitch McConnell would lose to Ashley Judd, the actress out of Boyd County, Kentucky. Mitch McConnell would lose to Ashley Judd by 9 points, or would win by 9 points. It was 49-40. So Judd would lose to Mitch McConnell, but only by 9 points, which is remarkable because that's right now. That's before she even declares her candidacy. So Ashley Judd is polling at 40% to 49 against Mitch McConnell. That's wonderful news for Ashley Judd, especially since she hasn't declared. But since Karl Rover's got scared and they're running anti-Judd ads on Kentucky TV, they're kind of showing their ass. Karl Rove has shown how vulnerable Mitch McConnell in Kentucky is. Already 1/3 of Kentucky voters are going to vote for somebody else other than Mitch McConnell. So Mitch McConnell is vulnerable in Kentucky. 1/3 of Kentuckians don't even want to vote for Mitch. 1/3 of Kentuckians says, fuck Mitch the bitch. We're going to ditch Mitch the bitch. Because he's a white supremacist piece of shit. So they were 1/3 of Kentucky. 1/3 of Kentucky don't even like Mitch McConnell. 1/3 of Kentucky don't even like him, Mitch. So they're showing how vulnerable Mitch McConnell is. It's 2014, 2013 right now. So a year and 8 months and 10 months in advance, almost 2 years away. And they're running attack ads on people who haven't even entered into the race, who hasn't even declared themselves to be a candidate. So they're just attacking anybody that might run against them. And both Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell are both joining in on the gangbang. Rand Paul, he's clearly anti-woman. I wonder if he'll try to make Ashley Judd bow down to his Aqua Buddha, But Republicans are known to be anti-women. It's no big surprise. But since Rand Paul's making comments about her, an actress who just expressed a possible interest in running for office, she just expressed a possible interest. They're attacking private citizens who have not thrown their hat in the ring. So they could be coming after you or me. So while in the last few recent national presidential elections, Kentucky has been voting Republican, the Republican Party is in shambles since Obama just won the presidency for the second time. The Republican Party is sinking like the Titanic, and they're desperate. So the ads that Karl Rove have been putting out are saying that Ashley Judd and Kentucky aren't compatible, but Ashley Judd is Kentucky. So the fact that Rand or Mitch or anybody would be suggesting otherwise just shows how stupid they are. So Kentucky's got a long Democratic tradition. So the last few national elections have gone Republican. Kentucky's got a long tradition of being Democratic. Kentucky's governor's long Democratic history. Today we got a Democrat in office today, Steve Beshear, which would be serving his second term, which would be only 3 governors who could brag about that. Paul Patton being the last one before Beshear, and one of the first ones, maybe Isaac Shelby or Greenup or something, or some of the earlier governors of Kentucky. So Ernie Fletcher was only governor for 1 term from 2003 to 2007. And the last time a Republican was governor of Kentucky before him was in 1971. So it was Louis B. Nunn, and he was governor from 1967 to 1971. So that means 8 of the last 9 governors in the state of Kentucky have been members of the Democratic Party. 8 of the last 9. And out of the last 43 governors in Kentucky, 34 of them have been Democratic. So out of the last 43 governors, 34 of them have been Democratic, 8 of them were Republican, and 1 of them was a know-nothing party. So 43 governors, 34 of them are Democrats, 8 of them are Republicans, and only 1's a know-nothing party. So 34 out of 43. The bulk of Kentucky's history has been run by Democrats. The governors of Kentucky are overwhelmingly Democratic. We also had a woman governor in the 1980s, so we're showing progressive policies, progressive standards. Since we already had a woman governor, Kara started a revolution in the standards-based testing. So standards-based testing here in 1990. That was Kentucky that started that revolution. Kentucky also passed the most comprehensive civil rights bill in 1966. So to consider Kentucky too, we also have a ton of poor people. So to consider Kentucky too Republican to vote for Ashley Judd is stupid. It's downright stupid. Kentucky's mostly filled with Democrats. Some reports 2-1. So the Democrats versus the Republicans 2-1. Just a general rule of thumb. Rand Paul's Jesse Bitten. So Jesse Bitten, memorize that name because Jesse Bitten is also the guy that's on Mitch McConnell's campaign, and Jesse Bitten has been the star player on Ron and Rand Paul's campaigns. Jesse Bitten. He actually relies on the Democrats to be turncoats on their own political party. Rand Paul was elected by the turncoat Democrats and independents. So since most voters in Kentucky are Democrats, the 2008 turnout rate shows that Kentucky has 1.6 million Democrats registered compared to 1 million Republicans registered. 1 million Democrats voted and 0.07 million Republicans voted. So that's just showing 1.6 million Democrats to 1 million. So it's not exactly 2-1. It's more 5-3, right? A 5-3 ratio. But there's way more Democrats than Republicans. So Kentucky's got all these Democrats who've had a long Democratic tradition. How can you say it's a red state? Let's just write off Kentucky. It also elected Bill Clinton. Kentucky voted for Bill Clinton. Also voted for Hillary Clinton over Barack. But there is a strong Democratic tradition in Kentucky. So let's see. Barack Obama lost to John McCain in Kentucky in 2008 at 6:05 p.m. Kentucky was the first state in the nation proudly to declare herself a racist. It's not surprising since Kentucky's general culture of racism is evident when, since in that same year, you had Cynthia McKinney was kicked off the presidential ballot. So there was Cynthia McKinney, who was on the Green Party, was not allowed to run in the state of Kentucky. That was in 2008. Also in 2008, Obama effigies were being strung up at UK and Lexington. And also over half of Kentucky's counties are named after Indian killers and Confederates. So that was in 2008, and there was 1 million Democrats that had voted and 0.7 million Republicans that had voted, and most of those had voted for John McCain. So there's more Democrats than Republicans that are voting, but the Democrats are turncoats, or are more likely to vote out of their party than the die-hard Republican clique are. They're thicker than thieves. Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment for Republicans is never turn on a Republican. If you're a Republican, you're a good guy, even if you all have the exact opposite policies. So in November 2012, so for the last presidential race, there was an impressive 59.7% turnout rate. So 59.7% turnout rate on November 2012, just a couple months ago in Kentucky, for Barack Obama's re-election. And the vast majority of them voted for the loser. So the vast majority of Kentucky's Democrats, Independents, and Republicans voted for Mitch Comedy, or Mitch Romney, the comedy, or the anti-poverty guy. So thusly becoming politically inept. So after Kentucky voted for Mitt Romney, they became politically inept and they were relevant for the next 4 years. Mitt Romney took Kentucky 60% to 38%. And statistically, electoral speaking, politically speaking, that's a I was gonna say a whitewash. It literally is a whitewash, but it's it's a what do you call it when you just win just overwhelmingly? It's just a I don't know. It just wasn't a fair game. So basically, Mitt Romney really beat Barack Obama pretty bad in Kentucky, 60% to 38%. Now that's, if you count the points, it's 22 points. But it's 22 points when you count the spread. 60-40, that means 3 out of 5 people voted for Mitt Romney, 2 out of 5 people voted for Barack Obama. So that doesn't mean that there is no Democratic Party here. It does show that the Democratic Party is struggling, very much so. But it shows that the Democratic Party is not dead in Kentucky. So, also Ashley Judd's Appalachia voted in favor of Barack Obama. No. Voted in favor of Bruce Lunsford. In 2008, Mitch McConnell ran against Bruce Lunsford, and the Appalachia where Ashley Judd is from mostly voted for Bruce Lunsford. So again, Ashley Judd is Kentucky. Ashley Judd is Kentucky. Mitch the Bitch, the Mubarak of Kentucky. So you got Mitch the Bitch, Mubarak. He looks like a turtle. He's got no upper lip. He's got to be ditched. Mitch the Bitch was elected in 1984. 1984. And it's been 1984, George Orwell, ever since in Kentucky. There's no money for education, healthcare, or infrastructure, but there's plenty of money for private prisons and militarism. And that's been a perennial problem since the 80s. He was elected in the 80s, and we still have those problems. Mitch McConnell has held on to the reign of powers for nearly 30 years. The same amount of years as the dictator Mubarak of Egypt held on to power. And by electing him senator, we'll be giving Mitch McConnell another 6 more years in the Senate in power. He'll be worse than Mubarak. In 1984, Kentucky was toothless, illiterate, obese, militarized, and dying of cancer. Today, those perennial problems have become institutionalized. So Ashley Judd has a really good chance to win a Senate seat here in the state of Kentucky, in the Commonwealth, in my bluegrass state. In spite of the ads, in spite of Karl Rove and his American Progress super PAC putting out all these attack ads against Ashley Judd, saying that she's an Obama supporting Hollywood liberal. Hollywood, California, we need some hippies here in the bluegrass state. I think that would be a good thing, seeing some hippies here. And also, since Kentucky has been irrelevant, since we've been voting for all these Republicans, we have no power, we have no sway in the House or the Senate. We have no power. So if we're trying to get into the social spending or any of the federal money into the state, we can't keep electing these Republicans if they're not going to be in power. It makes us politically inept, makes us irrelevant. We can't bring home the bacon and the pork, and that's what we need. We're poor Kentucky. We actually take our disproportionate share of wealth. Rand Paul was asked the question if he was prepared to sacrifice poor Kentuckians for his ideological endeavors, for his idealism. And of course he is. Of course he is. He's not really representing Kentucky. So, in 2008, Ashley Judd can win. They say that she can't, but she can. I think that her supporting Obama would be a good thing. I think her supporting Obama would help bring more money into Kentucky, especially since he's in power. And Hillary Clinton's probably going to be the next president. Who's going to be the next president? You think Rand Paul's got a chance? Rand versus Hillary? It's possible. He's got a chance. But he's a radical, which is a good thing in some respects, but bad in others. Anyways, so in 2008, Mitch McConnell had barely won, only by 6 percentage points against Bruce Lunsford, 53% to 47%. And if you look at the map, you can see that Ashley Judd's Appalachia voted Bruce Lunsford. There's a Democratic strand. There's a Democratic strand in all of Kentucky, since we're working class, we're poor, we're struggling, we have more poverty and more working class people in the state of Kentucky than other states, proportionally speaking. In fact, the poorest of the poor in all the United States is in Appalachia. So we got the poorest of the poor is in Kentucky. There's a lot of Democrats in the bluegrass state. So Mitch the Bitch barely won in 2008, 53% to 47%. Mitch the Bitch barely won in 2008, 53% to 47%. That's 6%. That's small. That can be squeezed out. That's not a landslide. That's what I was thinking, a landslide. Mitt Romney beat Barack Obama in Kentucky by a landslide, 60 to 38. But that shows that there is a Democratic opposition here. And in 2008, it showed that Bruce Lumford was a very strong Democratic opposition. So, again, Mitch McConnell is on the ropes. He's vulnerable. 1/3 of Kentuckians already hate you, Mitch. 1/3 of Kentucky does not like Mitch McConnell. 1/3 of Kentucky wants to take Mitch McConnell's entire Senate record and history and legacy and just chuck it off to the side. He's the Mubarak of Kentucky. He's been in there for 3 decades, just like Mubarak of Egypt.